I was recording. Welcome to this here streaming effort. For those of you watching the recording, you'll have an introduction to this. But what I was talking about is here on live Fox News Now.
Mayor Karel O'Hara speaking with the mayor of Maui County, Mayor Bisson there. Now we are 2 months on since those devastating wildfires on the island of Maui that killed almost 100 people. I can't believe it's already been 2 months. We just wanted to devote the last 2 hours to talking to those who were impacted and affected by those devastating fires. I'm Andrew Kraft. Thanks so much for being with us here on this Saturday night for some extended special live coverage of the attacks in Israel. Bibi Netanyahu describing his country now at war. And I want to go over some of the most recent statistics and data from Fox's Trey Yingst, who's down there live on the ground. We have spoken with him throughout the day. He says 300 plus Israelis have been killed.
That's important. 300 is a very special number to them. It relates to the 21st letter in the Hebrew alphabet, which is 300 in Gematria, which is the Shin letter, which is light. And they're the light unto the world. And 300 is the name of Liar Cohen's company, who now owns YouTube Music, who is one of the biggest scumbags in the world. It is Kabbalah. Let's see if they have another Kabbalistic number for us.
1,500 plus.
1,515 is Samek, who is the serpent eating its own tail. Also the devil card in the tarot.
Have been wounded. 3,000 plus rockets have been fired into Israel.
3,000. There goes to the 300. So 300 and then now 3,000. Hamas serves their purpose. For those just tuning into the stream, I'll repeat what I said. Hamas, backed by Iran, which is just common knowledge with no proof, and they say things like probably in this news. Probably. And they were talking about, oh, we just gave $6 billion. We unfroze $6 billion. Even this total CIA actress from the Pentagon, pretending she's a journalist, who's totally biased. And then she's preying on the biblical prophecy. And this is going to be a biblical thing. And the dehumanizing. And they had it coming. And now they're finally getting wiped off the face of the planet, the poor Palestinians.
And dozens of Israeli soldiers and civilians have been taken hostage and are now POWs in Gaza. In the Gaza side as well, 252 Palestinians dead and 1,000 plus wounded at this very hour. It's about 3 in the morning on a very...
I saw that number already different. That there are already a lot more Palestinians dead than Israelis injured. I think this is going to be such... They're going to use this as an excuse to wipe them out, fitting right into their plan. Any division in Israel between the left and the right is totally going to be united over their common enemy, this boogeyman. Ooh, I'm sure there's lots of evidence of them helping to set up Hamas. They've been wanting to bring us into war with Iran for the longest time. And here we have the left and the right coming together bilaterally in unison to give their undying, unwavering support to these greatest allies of us. Already sent $6 billion. We'll send trillions more to put us further into where we're at our sacred number, $33 trillion in debt. The military-industrial complex is going to love this. Is Russia going to side with Palestine and Iran? That would be something. And then China would... It's just a stage. Israel is buddy-buddy. Netanyahu and Vladimir Putin are buddy-buddy. They're still doing like big trades and stuff, even though we're supposedly backing Ukraine. It's such a farce.
Early Sunday morning.
Listen to this short-haired Pentagon total asset.
The war there continues. In the meantime, we do want to bring in
Kraft. I know Rob Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, happens to have a certain background that would make one a little bit more supportive of one side than the other.
into the conversation here. Fox News' Jennifer Griffin at the Pentagon, and she joins me now. Jennifer, thanks for being.
That doesn't look like your typical CIA Pentagon plug into journalism bad person for your next upcoming movie script that we should be writing. Then I don't know. Earlier I talked about the Lavon affair, how a legit false flag operation led to the war and the gaining of nuclear weapons by Israel. Jennifer Griffin from the NPR, which is a total rag, but known to be pretty left. And here she is on the right Fox. And what? When you're pro-war and anti-Palestinian and writing propaganda since 2011, you're going to have a certain bend to your reporting. Okay. She had breast cancer though, so wish her the best. May she come around to not being a propagandist for the Israeli war effort and for hoodwinking a bunch of Americans into supporting it.
Being with us, I know you
gullible Christians who think that Jesus is going to flow down on a cloud now because of all this. We got one concurrent viewer. What's up? Welcome.
been very, very busy throughout the day here. What is the response from U.S. officials?
You've been very busy spreading a lot of propaganda today. And this date is so gematria. During the time of judgment, and the wrath will come down on these sick animals, Palestinians who are getting pushed off of a cliff.
Not only at the Biden White House, but of course there at the Pentagon.
Well, the Pentagon has been on meetings since early this morning discussing ways in which they can provide help to Israel. You heard the president today. He gave a very strong statement for 2 minutes. He didn't take questions, but he said that the U.S. would stand by Israel, that he had spoken to Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu, and he had offered full support. He also issued a warning to others.
Bibi. That's such a lovely, comfy little nickname. Bibi. As he wipes this place off of the face of the earth. And they're going to justify this for taking down the Al-Aqsa Mosque because they're going to blame this on the Alaska terrorists.
Other actors in the region not to get involved. That was a direct warning to both Iran as well as Hezbollah in Lebanon not to expand this conflict.
What we've done to Lebanon, what we're doing to Syria, what happened to Egypt. If people weren't so brainwashed by the Bible, they could look at this clearly and see this is just bad. This isn't Bible prophecy being fulfilled. This is sick shit. And you're rooting for a genocide and an Armageddon war because you think that your Jewish savior is going to, superhero character, totally fictional, is going to float down on a cloud and rapture your ass. Stupid. Sorry.
Now, anybody that you talk to, U.S. official or otherwise, knows that Iran is behind this Hamas attack. This Hamas attack could not have been carried out without the help of Hamas. Of Iran. Iran has been providing weapons to Hamas for almost 20 years. I've covered back in 2002 a major weapons shipment of about $50 million worth of weapons. 50 tons, $100 million worth of weapons that were intercepted by the Israeli Navy on the high seas in the Red Sea. And so the weapons have been flowing in there. The money's been flowing in there to Hamas from Iran for a long time. And most Middle East watchers that you talk to suggest that the timing of this attack, which was very brazen and extremely carried out with extreme precision, it's a low-level attack in a sense, but the Hamas militants quietly came across 5 or 6 points from the Gaza Strip into Israel, attacked. The Israeli Defense Forces were forced to fight in 22 different areas in southern Israel, 3,000 rockets into population centers there. But anyone you talk to suggests that the timing of this was to try and derail a peace agreement between Saudi Arabia and Israel, Andrew.
Oh, wow. That is so interesting. So, experts that you've spoken with are making that direct link tonight.
So they're saying that they don't want the peace between Saudi Arabia and Israel going down. Saudi and Arabia have been hand in glove since before 9/11. They used Saudi Arabia. 15 out of the 19 pictured and named terrorists, they even said, came from Saudi Arabia. Not Iraq, where we went to war. And those people were found in the streets. They're like, oh yeah, my name was on that list, and here I'm right here.
So I just want to bring up with you, Jennifer, this tweet that you posted today. There's been a lot of news and attention surrounding the Iranian prisoner swap. Some of these Iranian Americans that are now back on U.S. soil, free from their Iranian captors, and the money that was unfrozen as a part of that deal. You tweet this: those who are saying that this $6 billion that was part of the American hostage release negotiated by the Biden administration likely fueled the Hamas invasion are missing some key facts. You say none of the money has been spent yet. It remains in a Qatari bank under U.S. Treasury watch. Why are...
She even had to come out and correct this. But then watch how she'll cover it up, too. Because she has been plugged into the Palestinian-Israeli conflict for a while. So if she doesn't come out and give correct something out there that's wrong, and if you look at all the tweets, it's all about, oh, well, Biden shouldn't have released that $6 billion. What did they do with the $6 billion? Now they're chanting death to America, which again is being spread like wildfire on social media when it happened. Is a video from over 3 years ago after the U.S. military killed one of Iran's top military leaders in a covert operation. Totally against all rules and regulations.
There are some critics, especially of the Biden administration, latching on to this fact here. To your point, that money's not yet in the hands of Iran. I'm not trying to, have a false equivalency here, but yes, Iran is behind some of these attacks all the time. Probably this one too. But
that's not news reporting. Iran is behind these attacks all the time. No evidence, no proof, which are different but similar. And then you don't say probably. That's just so irresponsible. He'll never get... Because these aren't news reporters. These are propagandists. Actors.
Money not directly related. Do I have that right?
That's right. I think it's been a number of presidential candidates, Republican presidential candidates, former.
The Pentagon is actually an upside down pentagram, which is the star of Rembrandt. No, it's the Baphomet symbol. Devil, Satan, Azazel. Let's go forward.
President Trump spoke about how this $6 billion that was unfrozen from a South Korean bank and not given to the Iranians, but put in a Qatari bank account that now is supervised by the U.S. Treasury. And you have to, the Iranians can't just withdraw that money. They have to provide, it has to be third parties who are non-Iranian who are providing humanitarian aid, food or medicine to the Iranians. That's the only way that money can come out. And I spoke to U.S. Treasury officials who say that no money has been taken out of that $6 billion that's still in the Qatari account.
So even this propagandist has to admit that. So all those people posting that $6 million has been released and look what Palestine was able to do with it from Iran's backing, totally not correct. But then he had to preface it with, well, Iran's probably behind this because they're behind all the other problems in the Middle East. P.S. Iran, similar to Hamas, is set up as a boogie bad guy. Assad isn't the great enemy. I think he's like a useful dupe. I don't know. They said he was killing his own people. So then we went in and killed people too. His people. So stupid.
So just to...
Wasn't gassing his own people like Ivanka Trump and cried to her daddy, "Daddy, they're gassing their own people. So let's go bomb those people as well that weren't getting gassed in the first place." There was, you guess who gave us that intelligence? Schmittrill.
To confuse the American public by suggesting that that $6 billion funded this attack by Hamas is misleading at best, and it's playing politics at a time when the country should be united.
You know, you would think they would have came up with a name that wasn't so similar to hummus, because I know Israelis, Jewish people, they really took over hummus. It's like it's a Jewish thing all of a sudden, which is not. But they really culture vultured hummus, and then they named their enemy Hamas. It's like a love-hate relationship with that word. It's very odd.
United, and it used to be that politics ended at the shore, at the shores, at our borders, and it did not carry over when there's a crisis, when the United States should actually be united in supporting Israel right now, because this is...
United States should be united in supporting Israel right now. Does that sound like a thing a journalist should ever say? No, that's not the words of a journalist. That's the word of a CIA Pentagon propagandizer. Great word. Is that a real word? Somebody in the chat. Somebody in the chat say something, yo. 2 concurrent viewers. I hope you're not Mossad. Unit 8200. God. Excellent condition. And we move on.
Is a terror attack that is for Israel the equivalent of 9/11. So
Wow.
the facts that I was trying to put out is that...
You see how they're playing. Surprised they want to bring up Shmime 11, something that we can't even talk about. And they're saying this is equivalent to a 9/11 event. This is wake movement, so I don't go into the astrology of it, but the astrology is similar. The sun is on 15 degrees of Libra. 9/11 happened during this time of year, September into Schmoptober. Let's put a shmem before everything. Hopefully that doesn't trigger the alarms. But see how they're trying to pull at the hearts of Americans? This is their 9/11. P.S. They were behind 9/11. If anybody took any moments to look into Shmime 11, the fingerprint of Israel doesn't even need that much dust to uncover. Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister, meeting with Lucky Larry Silverstein, having their weekly talk as soon as the Shabbat ends. The Shabbat day is when this happened. The day of Saturn. The sun is in Libra, Saturn's exaltation, nearing the 15th degree, the very degree of Saturn. The very degree that my Saturn it happens to be on when I was born. I was made to unravel their Kabbalistic magic that they use. And one of their big smokes and mirrors and tricks to their magicry is the media. Would you believe it? Would you?
Anyone saying that that $6 billion was used by Hamas or used by Iran.
You know, the whole 6 billion thing, is that happenstantial? Is that coincidental?
To support Hamas is misleading the American public. It's not factually accurate.
Okay, she's going to establish herself as the person who's setting the record straight against something that actually kind of defends Palestine in the information war. That, because trending 60,000 views on Twitter, people saying about the 6 billion being used, which is not true. I wouldn't have known that unless this CIA actress told me.
What you can say, and this is accurate, and I've been reporting on this for
You can't say that, but what you can say is this. For
20 years,
right,
is that Iranian money, they have plenty of money from their oil sales. That money is diverted at times to Hamas and has fueled Hamas, and Hamas would not exist without Iranian money.
At times. I argue Hamas would not exist if Israel didn't want them to, if they didn't serve a purpose. I can't wait. We're going to go to my X feed, Twitter feed after this. It's going to be so much fun.
So that is factual, but that $6 billion is very misleading.
And Jennifer, we're hearing as well from Bibi Netanyahu. He just posted on Twitter about 30 minutes ago with the latest update. He says this is the first line.
Let us answer the person in the chat. Yes. Punch drunk. The IDF looks to be taking out all the mosques. Damn. Are they going to take out Alaska Mosque, the Dome of the Rock? This might be their... That's what Americans are rooting for, Christian evangelicals. I had a feeling I'd be living in this time of Armageddon, of Gog and Magog. A part of me is like, I chose to come into this time, and like we did it before, and now we're doing it again. Very weird. Very weird. JJ, what's up, JJ? Thank you for being in the chat. Punch 2 people in the chat, 5 viewers, 8 total views. This is going viral. Let's go.
Of his statement, we are embarking on a long and difficult war. The war was forced upon us by a murderous attack.
It's going to be a long... Why does this have to be a long war? It's like this big on a map that you control this much land, and you've managed to take them all and put them into a little space like this on the coast, on the edge of a cliff. Why does that have to take so long to wipe them out? Because they want to suck as much money out of probably America as they can. Perhaps we'll get Britain, France, Germany.
By Hamas. We're not even 24.
The question is, what's Russia going to do? I think Russia will just stay out of it. Is Russia going to take Iran together and to support Palestine, and then China is going to come and join that, and then we're going to have our Gog and Magog war? What side would you be on? If America is to blindly take Israeli side, and then Russia and China were to come in support of Palestine, That would be interesting. I don't see that happening, really. Benjamin Netanyahu and Putin, raised by the same Chabad rabbis, pretty much.
4 hours since this all unfolded. And so is the world really gearing up now for what is shaping up to be the largest conflict in Israel, I would argue, since 1973, since the Yom Kippur War?
Well, look at the anniversary. It was one day after the 50th anniversary of the Yom Kippur War, 1973, when Egypt...
Look at her spouting her gematria, her biblical prophecy. Look how excited she is to get this out there.
In Syria, conducted a surprise attack while Israelis were sleeping and were celebrating the holiest day of the year, Yom Kippur. That surprise attack, there's
their holiest day of the year, where they celebrate and remember the day of judgment, where all the goyim, the nations, will be wiped out and put underneath the footstool of the chosen people. Yay, all their holidays are super effed up. All of them. Or a mourning over a fictitious event.
The reason that this date, this Sabbath day was chosen, this holiday in Israel was chosen, and the symbolism is not lost on those who have studied the Middle East for years. Somebody put it to me this evening that the number of Israelis killed in this first 24 hours, 300 in that first wave.
300. I'm sure a number just totally pulled out of thin air for their gematria reasons. 3, 6.
Of attacks. If you look at the size of the Israeli population, 7 million people, that is the equivalent.
7. 7 is the 7th day of rest, of the Shabbat. So when they reach 7 million that come into their town, there is the 7th heaven, the 7th planet away, Saturn being exalted, being the 7th day being realized, or the 6th day, the day of work, is finished. And then 7, the number of the Mashiach.
For the U.S. losing 50,000 Americans in one attack. So this is going to be a very, very serious response by Israel. Some have described it to me as a potentially biblical response.
What? Y'all hear that? And look how excited she was to say that this is a potentially biblical attack. Biblical attack. Right through their script, their sacred holy scriptures that they got the goyim, the nations, to bow down and follow and worship blindly. A potentially biblical response. Biblical.
Israel will go into the Gaza Strip, and it is going to be street by street. They're going to be rounding people up and searching for the militants. But what they have, the problem that they have right now, is that there are dozens of women and children, as well as soldiers, Israeli soldiers, who have been taken hostage and dragged back into the Gaza Strip. And so it's going to be very difficult because they're being held as human shields tonight.
They used the human shield thing, when in fact there's pictures of IDF soldiers using children as human shields. It's such... I hope people could see through this, and they're not. They're not.
Oh, and you're right. I mean, the language we're hearing from both sides, you know, it almost sounds biblical as well. And you're hearing from...
Almost sounds biblical as well. Well, yeah, because the Bible's totally fucked up. Sorry.
Some here stateside.
Let's go to the chat. JJ, it's crazy. We could get response from Islam extremists here in the U.S. Oh, is that what they're going to do next? Bible coming alive before our eyes. I didn't think it would be in our time, but Scripture says anytime we should be watching and waiting. Stay positive, 311. Hour. They're pumping it up with the use of language. Yes, they are. We're staying positive, 311.
Calling for the complete and utter destruction of Hamas. I mean, why do you think Hamas carried this out? Why do you think they've been so emboldened recently? Because there have been so many incursions, especially there in the West Bank and Gaza, rooting out some of these militant groups like Islamic Jihad, like Hamas, but nothing to this scale. Why now?
Look, the situation with the Israelis and the Palestinians has been festering for more than 30 years. And the lack of a peace process, if you will, the lack of a two-state solution.
Israel does not want a two-state solution. Whenever Benjamin Netanyahu entertained it, the right went up into arms, the Rebbes, the Orthodox, who have complete power now more than ever. Oh. When the wire in your headphones gets caught up in the wheel on your rolling chair, that's the worst.
For the Palestinians has led to a great deal of anger. The Israelis have basically blockaded Gaza and the Gaza Strip, but the Gazans themselves.
Yeah. The Israelis have basically blockaded them, put them into a freaking concentration camp where they can't even get food and stuff to come in.
With Hamas militants leading the way, have burrowed under tunnels into Egypt, and they have created ways to get weapons into the Gaza Strip. And basically, since 2000,
I would bet you that Israeli militants, the military, gives them just these pretty much just fireworks that they fly in. They don't do any.
When the Israeli military pulled all Jewish settlers out of the Gaza Strip. I was there as a young reporter at the time and covered it. Ever since then, Gaza has become a very militant, militarized piece of land that the Israelis don't control. They have basically encircled them with fences and border control, but there were no Israelis inside of Gaza, and that is how.
So Israel doesn't control them, but they're surrounded, blockaded. Yeah, that'll make no sense. Jennifer Griffin. You look like a Jennifer Griffin.
They were able to carry out this sneak attack, if you will.
Okay.
On the West Bank, there have been clashes.
Oh, I thought they're the greatest intelligence agency ever. Technology's surpassing God himself. Yet this surprise attack happened to happen on this time of year. And it's so biblical.
Between the Israeli military going in, incursions, taking out not just Hamas militants, but also Palestinian Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigades, Islamic Jihad, and others.
Al-Aqsa Martyr Brigade. It sounds like somebody totally propped up to make this about Al-Aqsa. You must hasten the coming of the Moshiach by your actions. It's not going to happen by God because they made it up. So they have to make it happen. Here they are, hastening it.
There has been a rising tension in the West Bank for some time. And so, but I think if you look at what is happening in the region, this is really as much about that peace deal that we've been hearing about, that Brett Baer had the interview with Mohammed.
Brett Baer just looks like the most CIA agent that you'll ever see. If I close my eyes and think of a CIA agent who's on the news, it looks exactly like Brett Baer.
Bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and with Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, it looked.
Salman, who did a multi-billion-dollar deal with the peacekeeper of the Middle East, Jared Kushner, murdered Khashoggi, chopped his body up into pieces, totally got away with it scot-free.
Looked like they were getting closer to a peace deal, and the Palestinians, they felt that perhaps they might get left out in the process.
She does not know this. She's totally making this up. Where's your evidence for this? This is total conjecture.
And Iran certainly didn't want any deal between their archenemy, Saudi Arabia, and Israel. And remember,
this is a total Marvel fictional comic.
The Iranians have been saying for some time, going back to Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, right, when he was the president of Iran, that they would wipe Israel off the map. Well, they attempted their first swipe today with...
Look at homeboy Crafts confirmed. No. Yeah. They fired a couple of bottle rockets, perhaps, and who knows who fired them. Could it be a whole event like the Lavon affair? And now she's going to justify this swipe. This swipe. This is them. This is their attempt to wipe out Israel off the face of the earth. Is this?
Using their proxy fighters, Hamas, but now Israel.
And Iran using their proxy fighters, Hamas. She has no evidence, no proof. This is total made up.
Israel is going to use its very, very forceful military, and I'm afraid...
largely supported by us, thank you. Our tax-paying dollars are going towards the genocide of Palestine.
I fear...
Palestinians. Real freaking people with brothers and sisters and mothers and babies trying to live.
For what is going to happen in the Gaza Strip, but unfortunately, Hamas brought this on their own.
Unfortunately, Hamas brought this on their own heads to justify the wiping out of this people, which is what they've had on their to-do list. And now they're going to get public support for it because of this here.
Own heads and unfortunately onto the people of Gaza.
Yeah.
Let's go to the live chat. Stay positive, 311. Yeah, I don't know. 311, tell us how to stay positive. Should we? Yeah, that's my lady. Hi, babe. Punch drunk. Oh, you guys are friends. Yeah, we go to 311. Ooh, amber is the color of her energy. Oh, shades of gray melt majestically. Oh, in a manadini. Yeah. America giving out money like it ain't even theirs. Can I have some? Right? Thank y'all for being active in the chat. That really makes me happy.
And the supreme leader there in Iran, the Ayatollah, relishing this on his own social media today. Jennifer Griffin there, live for us at the Pentagon. We appreciate your reporting and your time. Talk soon.
Thank you.
All right, and like I said, we're going to be devoting the next couple of hours to providing you all the latest.
Odin, Thor, Freya, goddess of truth and light, may you strike Jennifer Griffin down with a twisted ankle as she falls to the ground. May a strong strip of duct tape be fastened around her lips that she might never spew this propaganda anymore. So it is. In Hashem's sacred name. Yod He Vod He.
Disinformation when it comes to now war in Israel. Stunning 24 hours. We're going to be bringing in experts throughout this hour.
Okay, we're going to go up to, what are they talking about now?
Have watched in horror over the past 24 hours as more than 300 of their own were killed at the hands of Hamas militants there, and now the retaliation is ongoing as we speak there in parts of Gaza. We have a live now look, I believe, over Gaza City at the moment. We've been showing you this picture, and we've been seeing the Iron Dome system.
Let's call up Adam. Maybe he'll answer. He usually doesn't answer my phone calls because he's smart. Let's call him up. I hope he doesn't diss me live on air. Well, at least he didn't send me straight to voice message, which what he usually does. I'm joking. We could try calling Albert. It's 9:04 p.m. It's a little late for Albert. He's a hard-working man.
Intercept some of
the Iron Dome. Look behind the story of the Iron Dome. It is something that we have financed like 3 times over. And then they won't give us like our own technology back or something. So fucked up.
of these barrages that are coming into Israel almost constantly. I want to put this tweet up from Trey Yingst as well. He says this: tonight, hundreds of thousands of Israelis are being called up. Israel is bracing for the possibility of a multi-front conflict. And we heard from Bibi Netanyahu today saying that this is going to be a long and atrocious war. Let's get news now from the White House. Lucas Talmanson standing by with this report.
Speaking at the White House, President Biden pledged the full support of the United States and issued the following warning.
Let me say this as clearly as I can. This is not a moment for any party hostile to Israel to exploit these attacks to seek advantage. The world is watching, and let there be no mistake. The United States...
Dog, you know, there's these Alex Jones lizard conspiracy theories, but Homeboy is looking more like a lizard every day.
Stands with the state of Israel.
Fox's Brett Baer recently interviewed Saudi Arabia.
I was just talking about Brett Baer looking like a total CIA asset. I mean, tell me I'm wrong.
Arabia's crown prince, the de facto ruler of the country. He asked him how close Saudi was to recognizing Israel and establishing full diplomatic relations. Then, just a few days later, he asked Israel's prime.
They have been doing business for the longest time. They just wanted to be able to do it without seeming like total sellouts to the Palestinians and the Arab worlds or the Muslim worlds. Can you trust anybody who Hashem gave them a glitch where that's how they talk? Like they're possessed by fucking the devil?
Prime Minister, the same question.
So you think, if you were to characterize it, are you close?
There's my CIA plant image.
Every day we get closer. It seems it's for the first time a real one, serious. We're going to see how it goes.
You know, we just got back for...
He's like the dude at the smoke shop who's making 90%. Like he spent $3 for that vape. He's selling it to you for $30. And he's sitting back in his chair behind the counter. And that's his answer.
From Riyadh, I know you heard those words from the Saudi Crown Prince. What was your response?
Well, I was delighted to hear what he had to say, and to borrow a phrase, I think we're getting closer to peace every day that passes.
Senator Tom Cotton said...
Who's Adam? Adam Green. No more news. And Albert Bashai, they're very up on top of this. I would like to hear what Ryan Dawson has to say about this right now. T-Lav, the last American vagabond, they're very much hip to this stuff, and I'm sure they're saying the same stuff I'm saying.
Said crushing this potential peace deal is exactly why Hamas launched its attacks. This war is a transparent...
That is totally... No one knows this. This is total conjecture. I haven't used the word conjecture for my whole life. But tonight, conjecture. Oh, Cotton is the worst. And look at his face. Can you think of a face? We can't say that. Some faces are just very, very punchable. Can we say that? That face is like a face you want to cut out and put on a punching bag and just punch it. Like, what happened to your chin, bro? How come God didn't give you no chin? You could knock him out. Your fist you could hit him on the chin and the nose in the same time and just knock his ears off his face. Whoa, Liam, chill out. A little bit. I hope they don't ban me for that. I'm kidding, joking. Metaphorically, poetically speaking.
An attempt by Iran to derail the peace talks between Israel and Saudi Arabia.
That is such a farce. Israel and Saudi Arabia have been in bed together for ever.
Yeah. The United States should provide Israel the military and diplomatic support it needs to destroy Hamas.
This guy should be really reprimanded. Can we say that? They need all of the money, dog. That's if you want to get elected in America, you're going to want to get the most money for Israel because we are controlled by a foreign freaking country.
And the Biden administration should cease all engagement with Iran. Former Defense Secretary Mark Esper called Hamas...
What engagement have we... Yeah, we unfroze $6 billion of aid. We give $6 trillion to the opposite, but 6 million... Not even billion. We just gave 6 billion. Why is it always 6? We gave 6 billion to Israel just today, I believe. 6 million. Or was it billion? I think for them to eat. So there's not a humanitarian crisis that we're responsible for. And yes, the U.S. is responsible for many humanitarian crises.
Hamas's attack on Israel, an intelligence failure. At the White House, Lucas Tomlinson.
It was not an intelligence failure. It was an intelligence operation.
Fox News.
Put
Lucas,
that on my
thanks so much
tombstone.
there. In the meantime, I do want to just play this for you. This was Bibi Netanyahu at the very outset, almost 24 hours ago, with a message to his nation.
They've been saying Bibi a lot and not Benjamin. Because Bibi sounds more friendly. That's my buddy, Bibi. You see what they fucking do? Holy shit.
After news came of this...
I never heard Bibi
really
so much.
Stunning and grave attack there by Hamas militants. Let's just listen. This is in Hebrew, but with English subtitles.
מהבוקר מדינת ישראל נמצאת במלחמה. היעד הראשון שלנו הוא קודם כל לתאר את השטח מכוחות האויב שחדרו פנימה ולהשיב את הביטחון והשקט ליישובים שהותקפו. היעד השני במקביל הוא לגבות מחיר עצום מהאויב גם ברצועת עזה. היעד השלישי הוא לבצר זירות אחרות כדי שאיש לא יטעה ויעשה את הטעות להצטרף למלחמה הזאת. אנחנו במלחמה צריך לשמור על קור רוח. אני קורא לכל אזרחי ישראל להתאחד כדי להשיג את היעד העליון שלנו, ניצחון במלחמה.
All right, and you see there the determination on Bibi's face, and you saw he was meeting with his security ministers there. In the meantime, though, we do have still 2 live vantage points, I believe, over Gaza City. It's a little bit after 4 a.m. on a very early Sunday morning. Also, this vantage point as well. Let's bring into the conversation Rabbi Rick Jacobs.
Ooh,
and
a
he's friend of
rabbi.
ours now we talk about
It's
so many
biblical.
of these matters on Israeli politics all the time, Rabbi. You're in New York City. I just want to put this up before we get into our conversation. This is the Empire.
Why don't we have Imam? Oh,
In the flags.
they lit up the
color of
Empire
the
State
Israeli
Building
flag there.
as the state of
That's
Israel.
quite powerful. You're seeing
The background of Nick
moments like that
Fuentes'
not only in New
videos.
York, Berlin, Rome, Vienna, and so many of these European capitals as well. Before we get into the political questions here, what are you feeling tonight?
Day for people who love Israel, who stand up for Israel, and who
These guys kept on.
feel the
Yom
pain
Kippur.
of those who are still, many of them, in harm's way. You know that Israel is a country that is very, very close-knit, and I have very close friends who live right on the border of Gaza, and they spent most of the day, if they were lucky, in their shelters, praying that none of the children will make noise. It was horrific to see a friend murdered this morning. And everyone in Israel is watching their brother, their sister, their child get their uniforms and head off to reserve duty.
All of this is sad. Both sides.
It's a really precarious one. 300 Israelis have been murdered.
300.
Over 1,500 have been wounded.
15. These numbers are given to us for a reason.
And there are still Hamas terrorists who are inside of Israel taking hostages. Some of those hostages have already been brought back to Gaza. Some are being held in Israel. It's just a horrific day. It also is 50 years since yesterday that the Yom Kippur War began, and started because of a surprise attack that the country was unprepared for. So it was ominous. Today was not only the Sabbath, but the end of the holiday of Sukkot, which is a day of celebration, and it was far from a day of celebration.
I just want to follow up on something you said. Do you know someone who was murdered?
Yes.
You do.
A remarkable leader, Ophir Leibstein, who has been the leader of the Shar HaNegev community. What he did was unbelievably heroic. He went out and confronted the terrorists to protect his community and was murdered in the process. There are so many stories of heroics and of the pain and the brutality and the savagery of what we saw in terms of some of the video clips of the devastation. It just tears the heart.
Savagery. They're going to paint them as that's a dehumanizing term. As savages, as animals, as beasts, that's the kind of language they're going to use to make it easier for the public to accept them being wiped out, killed, murdered.
Yeah, Rabbi, why do you think a lot of people there, especially in the government and the security apparatus, didn't particularly see this coming? I mean, you hear that kind of conventional wisdom forming right now that they were caught on their back foot.
There'll be a lot of analysis. I'm sure there'll be a lot of accountability in the coming days. Now we're very much focused on how do we take people out of harm's way and restore security. But I have to say, I think there was a sense that, in Gaza, the rockets would fly, Iron Dome would take care of it. I think there was literally no imagination that militants, terrorists from Gaza would literally cross into Israel and do what they...
The word terrorist is applied to your enemy. They would call you terrorists, just as you call them terrorists.
They did. So,
And terrorists is like when you have rocks and slingshots, and y'all have helicopters, mainly supplied by us, warplanes. Does Hamas have fucking warplanes?
Again, I can't explain the lack of preparedness, but I certainly can feel the deep empathy with what our brothers and sisters are going through in the state of Israel. It's just...
So, children of Abraham, the Muslims, are they not your brothers and sisters? No, they are savages, beasts in human form.
It's brutal. There's just an ominous feeling throughout the country. It doesn't matter if you're in the north, if you're on the south, you really feel it. But there were rockets that were landing in Tel Aviv and near Jerusalem. So there's no place that really feels like you are somehow out of harm's way.
And to your point, this is not anywhere near being over. Do you feel that too?
Oh, you feel it intensely. In the clip that you just showed, Andrew, of the prime minister saying we are at war. And obviously, you know, having to say, after witnessing what we saw and what the video showed us today and the remains, there had to be a very strong statement. And use the words like we're going to eradicate, we're going...
I'll reach out to Albert. Pick up, Bert. Bert's not picking up. We're trying to reach out to people.
Going to destroy Hamas. It's not so simple. A ground
I really want to
war
hear what
in Gaza will exact not only.
I want to hear what Ryan Dawson has to say too.
But from the Israeli Defense Forces, it will be a very, very hard road ahead. But it feels as if there's no choice but to press on because the country's been attacked.
Yeah. I want to put this tweet up to your point about destroying Hamas. This is H.R. McMaster, former Trump national security advisor. He says this: Now is the time for Israel to crush Hamas and Iran, which they've been trying to bring us into war with Iran forever. And now they got it. For Israel to crush Hamas and for all who care about humanity to go after Hamas's sponsors.
And for all who care about humanity? What about the humanity of the Palestinian people?
In Iran and their proxies across the region. You know, you and I have spoken over the past, several months about these incursions by the IDF into parts of the West Bank and Gaza, pinpointing really some of these militants, not only Hamas, but Islamic Jihad. And so those were happening with relative frequency. And then you have this last night. Do you think a lot of people were surprised by the power and the coordination that Hamas mounted this?
There's no doubt that this was something we hadn't seen. And let's just point, the tweet shows for us the deep connection between Iran and Hamas. They are the patrons of Hamas. They have every geopolitical interest in fomenting the violence. So this isn't simply a local conflict. It's both regional and has dimensions that really, I think, have to make everybody pay attention. But the idea that you could crush Hamas sounds like it's simply a military question. Gaza is so densely populated. The Hamas
yeah, because you rounded them up into this concentration fucking camp.
Are literally embedded in the residential civilian community. To destroy Hamas as if it's a military challenge, I think, is to underestimate what's required and what will be the cost of such a campaign.
When you talk about Gaza being so densely populated, you know, it's a small strip of land, and the kind of guidance from the Israeli military to those living in Gaza who are not members of these, you know, militant terrorist organizations, to go into the center and possibly gather to evacuate. Where can those Gazans go to evacuate, though? And because, to your point, there's been a blockade on Gaza for over a decade.
Yeah.
Do you anticipate Israel reoccupying Gaza in the wake of this?
Yes.
I can't imagine that Israel will reoccupy Gaza.
They'll wipe it out.
Only terrible things can come from that. But your point about where do the innocent, there are plenty of innocent civilians who are caught by this brutal regime.
That's nice to recognize.
And they don't have anywhere that they can go. So to ask them to get out of harm's way is the right moral inclination, but where are they to do? So I think the responsibility for the innocents, and there are so many innocents in Gaza, but this regime is as brutal as any regime we've seen. And what they were willing to do to Israeli civilians today indicates what they're,
If you're a civilian living on the border of Palestine, Gaza, and Israel, You are a settler.
Whole motivation is. So I think, for those of us who would love to see Hamas neutralized, overcome, that there be a more reasonable and a more, civic-minded governance, but that's not in the cards for Gaza in this moment.
Okay.
And I think
In the tarot cards, today's the 7th of October. The 7th is their completion.
Israel has to do what it has to do to suppress these kinds of attacks. It owes it to its citizens. And those of us, I'll just say, around the Jewish world, it doesn't matter if you're a liberal or a conservative, we stand in solidarity with
The left and the right coming together to cuck for Israel. It's been going on for a while.
State of Israel. It's our state. These are our neighbors and friends and family that are along the border. They have paid the ultimate.
It's not my friends. It's not my country. It's not my people. It's actually people who have been not just not our greatest ally, but rather the opposite.
Price. We will stand with them. And this is a moment where there can be unity within Israel. And as you and I have talked, Andrew, numerous times over the
now all that beef between the left and the right, between a state that's democratic or a state that is totally monochromatic. Benjamin Netanyahu has been in charge there for like 20 years. It's not a fucking democracy.
Last month.
P.S. neither are we.
This has been a time very divisive in Israel.
Yeah.
Judicial reforms, this government, the most extreme.
Now we could all get together in support of wiping out the smallest remnant of Arabs here. Who they actually even like more than Christians.
In Israel's history has been...
Why do they like Muslims more than Christians? Because at least they're more monotheistic than the Trinitarian Christians are.
Cause for a lot of very, very deep structural tears in Israeli society. But this is a moment, all of those potential soldiers who said they might not serve if called up for reserve duty, right, they have all been reporting. That is a symbol of the unity that
is a symbol of our propaganda working.
Underlies this country and underlies the Jewish people globally.
When you speak
world Jewry, it's a thing.
Of unity too, I thought this was so striking. I want to put this tweet up. That right there, former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett shown up for reserve duty. And so you see there that's leadership by example from this person on Twitter. Also, we know that calls for a unity.
I'm sure they're going to put him on the front lines.
Unity government with, Benny Gantz, Yair Lapid, and others. And I think Bibi kind of acceded to those requests today.
I don't think they're going to put his fat ass on the front lines of anything.
And that's something that is not something you can negotiate on. So I think people need to understand that basic fact. And then there are a lot of other complicating factors worth knowing. But that is, to me, the core of understanding what happened today and what needs to happen going forward. So it's so complex. I think a lot of people put their hands up and say, I can't follow it. It's just too much. It dominates.
It's just too complicated for us simple-minded people to... It's just too complicated. No, it's not. It's pretty fucking simple.
Much of not just the region, but the world's attention. So therefore, I think it does demand our understanding. And
why? Because of news coverage like this.
Our involvement and our advocacy for Israel's right to be in security. And that's a fight worth...
This isn't about the right of Israel to be. It's about the right of Israel to not let the Palestinians be in existence.
Giving every single day.
Yeah, and our condolences as well. You're right. This is far from over.
He seems really distraught about his best friend dying, doesn't he?
And we'll just have to see when the sun comes up in just a couple of hours there in Israel. Rabbi Rick Jacobs, thank you so much for your time and your insight. Talk soon.
Thank you.
Okay, in the meantime, we do, like I said, are devoting this hour to extensive live coverage of Israel under attack, that surprise attack by Hamas militants just this time yesterday, and hundreds of Israelis have been killed since. Also, hundreds of Palestinians have been killed since, and so we're getting reports as well. We've been showing you, we've been telling you that
it's going to be thousands and thousands of Palestinians killed, and they're willing to suffer the sacrifice of some foolish settlers, the gung-ho Israeli power people for this cause.
That abductions, kidnappings by Hamas militants.
And those videos look very suspicious.
Of Israeli citizens, women and children. Also, the deaths of IDF soldiers as well. And so, let's take
soldiers who are shooting and killing. Some got maybe a firework hit them in the eye.
A quick commercial break. Let's reset for the bottom of the hour. We still have some of these live pictures. It's about 4:25 in the morning there on a very early Sunday morning. And so, like I said, the sun will be coming up very, very soon there in Israel. And we'll be bringing on more experts to talk about, especially the political dynamics here stateside, of course, the 2024 GOP.
Okay, let's go to X. Jason Cohn of No White Guilt, who I like somewhat. Sometimes he's a little bit out there, but I appreciate him. There is no, quote, intelligence failure, unquote. Open your eyes. Hamas cannot achieve anything substantive. No, they cannot. Israel has the power of the entire West, securing its border in safety with 100% eyes on every inch in several spectrums for miles on both sides. Yet on the 50th anniversary of the Yom Kippur War, when security would be tighter than normal, Hamas crosses the Israeli border. Do you have a genuine Armani suits for sale out of your trunk as well? Yeah. He's not buying it. He's not buying it. And neither am I. Christ cut pastors, always bringing heat. Germany has fallen. This is what is being... That's a thing in Germany? Oh, man. The poor German people. This is what a Zionist slave state looks like. Poor Germany. Ha! I just said that. Albert and I are on the same page. Elon Musk is praying for peace. Adam says, get your IDFM Mossad merch with promo code Shapiro at Daily Wire. Let's go to Adam's page. Ooh, I like his new background. Trump the Avenger.
Citizens is an act of savagery that must be and will be crushed and avenged, has to be crushed. Israel's at war and the United States has to support Israel. We have to support Israel. There's an invasion of Israeli territory and the murder of Israeli soldiers and citizens is an act of savagery that must be and will be crushed and avenged, has to be crushed.
Trump the Avenger. Keith Woods. He's pointing out Joel Pollack's post, who says, I have broken the Shabbat and the highest of the Jewish holidays to deliver this message. Instead of having a goy type this for me, I'm typing it myself. I'm working instead of studying the Torah. I'm doing this with my own very godly fingers instead of having some beastly goy type it for me to deliver this message. Israel should wipe out Gaza. The biblical Gog and Magog is going down. Benjamin Netanyahu says, we will turn all the places in this evil city where Hamas is hiding into ruins. The IDF will immediately use its full force to destroy Hamas. We will avenge this black day.
וקשישים. אזרחי ישראל היקרים.
This is a great map. Here's what Palestine looked like in 1946. After the 1947 war, 1967, 2010, and now today it's even less. Look at that. They are getting evaporated, annihilated. Punch Drunk says, I like Trump. You know what? I do actually miss Trump in comparison to Biden. I miss the way he says China. Trump really gets under the politician's skin. I'm not sure if I somehow attracted Trump fans to my page. But it is better than Biden, but it's still Israeli Jew-owned Trump. His very daughter, who he wanted to make out with, got sold into it. He gave up his right to exist and any sovereignty over his own life authority to Wilbur Ross, a Rothschild arm here in America. Yeah, so Trump is a total owned operative. Biden even said that he's a Zionist and that you don't have to be Jewish to be a Zionist or even an evangelical. The Masons are totally Zionists. All right, I'm getting tired. I love you all very much. Trump is not your savior. He's not here to save you. Sorry, chat. I hate to go against my own chat. Yeah, Trump is not your savior. Trump is totally bought and paid for, and I'm sure his involvements with Epstein, they have dirt on him. He was accused of of hooking up with underage girls. I don't want to go into that right now. But yeah, Trump's not your boy. But who's more not our boy? Biden. They both suck. It all sucks to high hell. Nick Breen, are you not also a settler on Native American lands? You know, I was thinking about that today. I'm like, yeah, we are on occupied lands, but I mean, my ancestry is Irish and Polish, so we were always kind of escaping some type of other, so it's not so clear cut. But yeah, there is a point. Okay, give me Ireland back then. Give me Polish Germany back. I'll go back there. Give me a plot of land. I don't need America. And then okay, we came into a place where the Native Americans living in mud huts with no way, dying of cholera, swimming in their own filth, dying of diseases that are curable. Did we also wipe out their buffalo, their means to exist? Were they barbarians? Am I responsible for that? Were the Palestinians barbarians before the Israelis came in and colonized them? What about colonization? These are great questions, and I don't have answers to them. I have sympathy, empathy for the Native Americans. I have sympathy and empathy for the Palestinians. I have sympathy and empathy for the Israelis. I hope for a peaceful resolution, but that's not what they want. Trump for speaker. Yeah, if you're just a Trump tard and you think Trump is the answer to all your problems, Trump did the most for Israel than any other politician, president ever. Yay. Everyone is an immigrant. We got to work it out. Yeah, I agree with that, Nick. Yeah, where did the Native Americans come from? They came from, like, what, the Bering Straits or something? I mean, I guess that's a good point. Yeah, so, I mean, who's the least genocidal? Who can live in peace the most? Then we should support them. The person who is vilified, the outcast, we should step up for. But then we get, I guess, turned, and so then, okay, the immigrant, we should open up our arms to, and they come in here and kill us. So there's also that. Yeah, so there's many shades of gray to this. It's not so black and white. But does that mean that we should just give up because it's just too complicated for our simple minds to understand? I don't know. Come in legally. Yes, exactly. Punch Drunk, Nick Bringing, JJ. Thank you all for being so active in the chat. I love you guys so much. I'm still trying to figure this stuff out. I really am. And I thank you. Stay positive. 311. Oh, amber is the color of your energy. We will move forward.